And so for those reasons, and nothing to do with the skill itself, I think that the person that has the best chance of being champion at the end of next year would be. What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to your home for all things combat sports.
Yo.
So, Nick, it's pretty rare that there's two really promising prospects that are coming up in the same division at the same time. I'm talking Khamzat Chimaev and Shavkhat Rakhmonov. Both of these guys are undefeated, both from a similar area of the world, both have similar styles, and I think both, most importantly, could be the champion at the end of 2023.
Yeah, they've come into the UFC at a similar time, and they've had, I guess, sort of a similar career so far. The major difference is the star power. You know, Khamzat Chimaev is kind of the golden child for the UFC. As soon as he got signed, he was well known, and then 10 days later, he had another fight, and that kind of exploded him into stardom very early. So his career has been a bit different than Shavkat's. Shavkhat has kind of been that silent assassin. He's just been tallying up wins in the UFC, but a lot of people don't know about him as far as the casuals go. And the people who know the sport and really know the skills, they know what they're seeing with this guy. That he's a legit fighter. He's got championship caliber skills, and he is one of the guys at 170 that's for sure moving into the top 5 this year. But the issue with Shavkhat Rakhmonov is he's not near as popular with the masses as Khamzat Chimaev is. Khamzat's come in, and for the longest time, he wasn't able to get big fights with big names because nobody wanted to fight him. Insert Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns kind of blasted him up into the next realm, and now he's in there with the big guys. I don't think Khamzat's going to be fighting anybody that's not a meaningful opponent with a big name from here on out, for the foreseeable future. Shavkhat Rakhmonov is the guy that now needs the dance partners like a Gilbert Burns. And Jeff Neal is no Gilbert Burns, but he was certainly right there on the cusp of being one of the big names at 170. And then, of course, he has to back out of his fight due to an undisclosed injury. That's unfortunate, but most unfortunate for Shavkhat, because I think he was really looking to jump into those bigger names, and since that didn't happen for him, he's going to have to figure it out. Ryan Barberena is a great fighter, but he's definitely not known like Jeff Neal or any of the other guys at the top of 170.
Yeah, and Brian came out and said, look, he's not getting the fight, and he said that he understands why. He said the UFC just doesn't want to give me that fight right now. In my last performance, I was submitted by RDA, so I can't really be too mad at him. But that does kind of bring us to a bit of a frustrating situation, which is both of these guys are so promising, and we're expecting so much in 2023 from both of them. However, neither one of them have a fight on the books right now. Obviously, you mentioned Jeff Neal. He was supposed to fight Shavkhat. That was great. We were all talking about Colby Covington versus Khamzat potentially, but now it looks like Colby might be fighting Bilal Muhammad, and there's a question as to whether is Khamzat going to fight at 185 in his next outing or 170. He's looking pretty big in his Instagram posts, so I would love to see some clarity. Now, obviously, I think that you can make a real argument that Shavkhat Rakhmonov is skillfully better than Khamzat Chimaev. But as you said, there is absolutely no doubt who's the bigger star. So from that standpoint, I think if you're looking at who's got the best chance of being champion at the end of 2023, you have to factor in the star power, and you have to factor in the fact that he's willing to compete at both divisions. Now, I think Rakhmonov probably would too, but he hasn't openly expressed that in the way that Khamzat does. Khamzat said, look, I'm going for 185 and I'm going for 170, and I'm going to defend both belts simultaneously. Cool, that's a great story. We can get behind that. And so for those reasons, and nothing to do with the skill itself, I think that the person that has the best chance of being champion at the end of next year would be Chimaev.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Khamzat finds himself in a title fight next year, and he might not even have to do any more heavy lifting at 170 or 185 to get that title shot. He's always the guy at those two divisions when they say who should be the alternate fighter or who should be the replacement last second. He's the guy on Twitter that's always like, I'll take it, I'll smash everybody. And I think the UFC would absolutely call him if they had a title fight fall out at 185 or at 170. I've been watching his clips and his vlogs that he's posting on YouTube now, and he looks pretty big. So I know no news has come out, and he does gain a good bit of weight in between his fights, but he looks bigger than usual, which makes me feel like his next fight's going to be at 185 and not 170. I know he's done like 2 fights at 70, 2 fights at 85, and then 1 fight as a catchweight at 80. But I don't really see a catchweight being in his next fight, and I don't really see him going to 170 for his next fight, especially if Colby Covington versus Bilal Muhammad gets made. I just think there's a few other options at 185 that might make sense for him. And as far as him getting in there with Alex Pereira or Israel Adesanya, whoever wins that rematch, which they're likely going to do, is a great matchup for Chimaev. And I personally think, just like the UFC would love to see Sugar Sean become the champion at bantamweight, they would also probably love to see Khamzat Chimaev get a belt strapped around his waist. If that happens at 185, great. If it happens at 170, great. But if you could make a case, it's probably a little bit easier of a road for him to get the belt at 185 than it is at 170 right now.
Yeah, and you have Kamaru Usman coming back at 170, and he's going to get his crack at Leon, and then depending on what happens there, I hate to even say it because I don't want to put that out in the universe, but we could end up with a logjam sort of situation at 170 where there's a trilogy sort of situation taking place. Now, I do think that Shavkhat Rakhmonov and Khamzat Chimaev will fight each other at some point. Whether it's at 170, whether it's at 185, I don't know. And I don't really care because I think we need to know which one of these guys is actually better. But I see that happening down the road, and I see that happening with potentially a belt on the line. And so a lot of people were saying when Brian Barberena was given the slight, not allowed to be, so to speak, the last-minute replacement for the fight that was supposed to take place with Jeff Neal, a lot of people were saying, hey, throw Khamzat Chimaev in there. Let him fight Shavkat, and let's just go ahead and take one of these O's away. I don't really think that's the right move. I think that these guys need to grow in parallel paths, and it doesn't need to cross until there's more at stake, until there's more on the line, because I think that that's a mega fight one day.
Yeah, they're both championship caliber fighters, and when they're going to fight, it might as well be for a belt because it seems like both of them will touch UFC gold at some point in the near future. My opinion is that Khamzat gets there first, but Shavkat's going to become undeniable the more he fights. But Khamzat Chimaev's already the golden child of the UFC, and I believe he's one fight away, if not already ready for a title fight at 185 or 170.
Agreed. Thanks for watching this video, guys. We're your hub for all things combat sports. If that's your jam, we appreciate a subscribe and a like on the video, and drop us a comment down below. We'll see you next time.
Peace.